Good, good morning. Um, I'm Utpala. Thank you for joining class 2 of Foundation Course 7, which is on the Bodhisattva vows. So let's just take a moment before we get started to bring to mind, bring to heart our motivation for taking this course. And our motivation for being here today in this class. Make your motivation as clear and as heartfelt as you can. Make your motivation as big as you can. And then, if you would like, um, please join me in the prayers that we do before class. Sashi Puki Chukshin Meto Drum Rira Blingshin Yinde Kempadi Sange Shingdu. I'm doing the wrong ones. Excuse me. See, this girl likes coffee in the morning and she didn't get up early enough today. I'll take a sip of water and we can try this again. Sachi Puki Jukshin Metok Drum Rira Blingshin Yende Kempadi Sange Shindu Mikte Owargi Drokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandala Kamniyatayami. Sangye Chiram Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Tuparsho Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Benchir Sangye Drupasho Sangye Chiran Soki Chukdam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Benchir Sangye Drupasho. So before we continue on with the course, I just wanted to check and see if there are any questions from last class. I guess not. Okay, so we'll continue on. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about different types of morality. If you remember, we talked about how Arya Asanga's book on the Bodhisattva levels contained a big chapter on morality. And this is one of the sources of for the two commentaries that we're using. So we're going to talk about different kinds of morality, and we're going to talk about different kinds of vows. But we're going to start with sort of like almost picking up where we left off. If you were at the first class, we talked about suffering, right? How we're all caught in suffering. And we talked about how when you have the wish or the strong desire to get out of the cycle of suffering, and then you look around and you see that everyone else is in the same situation. They're in the same boat, so to speak. And that bodhicitta is just turning renunciation out for all other living beings. May all living beings, including myself, get out of the cycle of suffering. So we're going to turn now to a poem by Jason Kappa. It's called "The Source of All My Good." It's such a beautiful poem. And he talks about what you need to do to get ready to take the Bodhisattva vows. The verse right before this talked about the motivation to get the wish, how to get the motivation of wanting to reach enlightenment in order to help all living beings. And then it goes into what you do next. So that's where we are in his poem. I've included a copy of Source of All My Good in case you don't have it. It'll be on the platform sometime soon. And it is in English, so I apologize for that. But I think that because this particular poem is used often in foundation courses, that this may have been translated into your language already. So I'll just read it once through quickly, and then we'll go through line by line. Sensam kye kyang sutrim nam sum la gompa me na jangchuk min drupar lek bar tong ne gel se dompala sun patrapu lo par jingilo. So please say sen sam kye, sem sam kye, kyang, sultrim, namsum la. So semkye in Tibetan, the way grammar works, they've stuck this modifier in between the word semkye. So semkye, oops, let me do this one. Semkye, that means bodhicitta, the wish to help all living beings reach total and complete enlightenment. Sam, the word that's stuck in between them, means just that or only. Kyang means but. Sultrim, which we're going to have a lot of today, means morality. Namsum La, that means the three types. The three types. So the beginning here, Sensam Kye Kyang, means you may be able to get the emotion, the wish in your heart to help all living beings. You may be able to get to that point, but Sultrim Namsum La. So then we have to go, it's the three types of morality, but we don't have the rest of the thought yet. Gompa Mena, Gompa Mena means if you don't get very good, Gompa is the word to become very familiar with. So if you haven't become really familiar with the three kinds of morality, Changchu Mindrupa, say Changchu Mindrupa, you will not reach enlightenment. So he's saying, even though you may have the wish, you may have the desire to become a Buddha, you may actually feel that emotion. But if we don't go out and become very good at keeping the three kinds of morality, we'll never reach enlightenment. Impossible. We won't be able to. And today we are going to talk about the three kinds of morality. Okay, the next line, Lekpar Tongne. Oh, I have the chat hidden. Oh, thank you. It's there it looks like Ukrainian. Okay. Okay. Lekpar Tongne. Lekpar Tongne means you must realize this. You must realize that we will not be able to become enlightened if we don't become very good at the three types of morality, even though we may have the wish to help all living beings. Gyaltse. Maybe some of you have had a class with Venerable Gyaltse. Gyaltse, my good friend Gyaltse, that means bodhisattva. Bodhisattva. Dompa means vows. So Gyalse Dompa means vows of a bodhisattva. Sunpa Drakpo, Sunpa Drakpo means fierce effort, mighty effort. Lopa means to train ourselves. And Jingilo, I just love how that sounds. Jingilo. That means, please bless me. Jetson Kappa is talking to his Lama. Please bless me. So altogether, as Jason Kappa was writing this poem, he had just done this tremendous retreat, and he had this vision of being surrounded by all the lineage lamas from his teacher up to the Buddha. And so he's got all these, he visualizes in front of him all these beings, all these teachers. And he's saying, please, please bless me to be able to train myself with fierce effort in the vows of the bodhisattvas. So in this poem, it's not only him, requesting these teachers to bless him so he can make great efforts. He's also advising us that this is the way. We must realize that it's not possible to become enlightened if we don't practice the three kinds of morality, and if we don't make fierce efforts to train ourselves in the vows of a bodhisattva. The state of enlightenment is empty, just like everything is empty. It has no quality of being itself from its own side. We have to plant the seeds that will ripen into a projection of being in an enlightened state of mind and being and body. We don't just catch a train to make ourselves, take ourselves to Buddhahood. We have to create the seeds. And what are the kinds of seeds that we need to plant in order to see ourselves as a being who is omniscient, sees all things of all three times in every instant, and whose every movement of body, speech, and mind is for the purpose of benefiting all living beings. Every moment of their existence. What kind of seeds do we have to plant to have that mental image ripen into our experience? Basically, as Jetson Kappa says, it's the three moralities. I don't know. It seems like in us modern sophisticated people, uh, morality is sort of old-fashioned, maybe for most people. Probably not for you who have been uh, taking these kinds of teachings on this path. But morality is not really stuffy. Uh, it's not. I can only think of English idioms or American idioms, which would make the live translators go crazy. So I won't use them. Well, here's one that's easy, hopefully, to translate. There's an English idiom called goody two shoes. Good is in Good, goody two shoes. And it's a nickname for someone who's always being very proper and very good and looking out for other people. And it's sort of a put down in the United States to be called a goody two shoes. But we know, because morality, adopting a moral code, living our life uh, to take great care in not only not harming other beings, but also helping them when they need help to the best of our ability at the time. We know that these kinds of actions will result in this incredible state of being totally enlightened. So, okay, call me goody two shoes. That's fine. Okay, we're going to talk about three moralities. Utpala, get back on track. Okay, the first kind of morality is called Nechu Dompe Sultrim. So please say Nechu, and this is a hard cutoff on that ch. If you're learning to pronounce Tibetan, this is the ch. So because it ends in a D, ch. Nye ch. Dompe Sultrim. So we had Sultrim before, right? We're going to have it over and over today. Means morality. Dompa here, it's the same spelling as the Dompa we just had in Jason Kappa's poem that meant vows, but it can also mean like self-control or restraint, to restrain ourselves. Nature means doing bad deeds, creating negative karma, doing things that harm ourselves or others. So the first kind of morality is the kind of morality that people normally think of when they hear the word morality, which is holding yourself back, keeping yourself from doing bad things. And there's two ways of thinking about what a bad deed is in Buddhism. And if you took the karma course, maybe you remember. I think there are some people here who took the karma course. I can't see everybody, but I see one person. So the definition of a negative karma or a bad deed is it's this long phrase here, which I'll just read to you. Namin yitu miyongwa mi dewa nyongwa ni mi gewa yin. It just means that bad karma is defined as any deed that you do which ultimately brings you suffering through a karmic ripening, through the ripening of a mental image. There's another definition, which is any action that ultimately brings suffering to other living beings. So those are two basic qualities of negative deeds. They hurt yourself, or ourselves, I should say, and they hurt other people. They make you unhappy, they bring you suffering. So in Buddhism, it's, I think, I don't have a lot of experience with other religions, but or even philosophies for that matter, when other religions have a god or gods plural who are giving some sort of punishment if you do something bad, and Buddhism doesn't have that at all. It just says, if you harm someone, you're planting the kind of seed in your mind that can only ripen into an experience of suffering, an experience of pain on yourself. So not only are you hurting the person who's in front of you, but you're planting the seeds to hurt yourself in the future. We don't need a God to give punishment. We're punishing ourselves very well, thank you. Okay, and we can basically divide this morality of refraining from doing bad deeds into two categories. The first is avoiding the 10 non-virtues. Now, when the Buddha taught about what to take up and what to give up in terms of our behavior, he apparently taught 84,000 bad deeds. That would be a really long list to try and memorize. So he was very kind, and he gave us a top 10, right? The top 10 negative actions that we do. And I think we can say, it seems to make sense, and this is just me saying this, that they incorporate, like all 84,000 fit somehow within these 10. That the 84,000 are like slightly different ways of doing these 10 negative actions. That's just my idea. So there are 3 negative actions we can do with, or we do with our body. There are 4 negative actions we do with our mouth, and there are 3 we do with our mind. So the 3 in the body, does anyone know? No one wants to play? Yay! Killing is the number one. Yeah, it's the big one. Taking the life of any living being, not just a human. Very good. Thank you so much, Maria. Killing, stealing, taking anything of value, meaning anything that's worth over 10 cents. Don't take other people's stuff. And then sexual misconduct. And there's there are a lot of different, I mean, killing is just killing. Stealing is anything of value that belongs to someone else. And sexual misconduct has a variety of possibilities, shall we say. Adultery is a big one. Having, and having sex, and it's not just sex, it's also like this sort of bond that you have with someone. Normally, when you have sex with them, there's some sort of bond. So there's also that kind of bond with somebody other than your partner that you have committed yourself to, or with someone else's partner who has committed themselves to someone else. And then there's things like, nuns and monks, we can't have any kind of sex at all. Or I should say, any kind of sex at all would be breaking our monastic vows. And then there are things like don't have sex in front of a statue of the Buddha, don't have sex with your mother, don't have sex with your sister, your brother, your father, like that. So those are the three of body. Then we've got three of speech. No, Utpala, there are four of speech. Lying, technically giving anyone a false impression. Divisive talk, which means trying to drive a wedge between two people or two groups of people, or if people are already not getting along, trying to push them away from each other further. Where are we now? Oh, here. Harsh words, which don't have to be like loud and annoying. They can be very soft, sweet sounding words, but it's any words that are meant to put someone down or to hurt someone. And then idle talk, just gossip and sitting around chatting about nothing. So those are the four with your speech. So we're up to 7. And now there's 3 negative deeds, they're called, related to your mind, which are the most powerful ones. There's craving or coveting. You can think of this, jealousy fits within this negative actions. It's wanting something that someone else has, and you want it, you covet it so deeply that you would do anything to get it. Steal their partner, steal their things, plot against them to get them out of a position that you want to have, that they have, like that. The second one of the 3 of mind is ill will, which is basically being happy when someone else experiences some sort of pain or discomfort. This is basically what keeps the movie business in business, right? Most movies will have some sort of, storyline where someone is being happy about someone getting, some evil person who's getting harmed. And so we're supposed to feel happy about that. Is it good that the superhero is stopping the evil person from destroying the planet. Yes, that's good. But to rejoice that the evil person is being harmed, that's not so good. That's not a good state of mind. And then on the flip side, it's being sad when or unhappy when someone gets something they want. I confess to you, this one is challenging for me. When I look at politics of the day and I see certain politicians who are getting their way to like harm others, war, brutality, starving people, things like that. I get very unhappy that they're getting their way. So I have to be careful. And when that kind of thought comes up, that it's the thing they're doing that I'm unhappy about, not that I'm unhappy they're getting what they want. Do you see the distinction? I want to make sure that my unhappiness is about the fact that other people are being harmed in some way, killed or bombed on or starved. That's what I'm unhappy about. And it's not that I'm unhappy that this particular politician is getting what they want. I hope that makes sense. And then the last one of the 10 non-virtues, of the 3 of mind, is wrong view. Excuse me. And the classic wrong view is not believing in karma, not understanding how karma works fully, like, or misunderstanding how karma works. Like when we took the karma course, we learned that when we do these actions, it doesn't matter if someone sees us doing them. We're planting the seeds. So to have the thought, oh, if I just do negative actions and no one sees me, if I'm here in my house and no one else is around, no one will ever know. So it'll be okay. That's not how karma functions. So if we hold to that misunderstanding too strongly, that's a very negative thought, and will harm us because we won't be planting the kinds of seeds that we need to plant in order to get out of the realm of suffering. Instead, we're planting seeds that are going to keep us in suffering. That's the most serious of the 10 because it can keep us from getting out of suffering. So that's the first type of the morality of restraining ourselves, refraining ourselves from doing negative things. The 10 negative actions. The second kind is sotargidompa. Sotargidompa. And this means vows of individual freedom. Vows of individual freedom. And there are 8 kinds. And I'll go through them much more quickly than I did the 10 non-virtues, okay? Because it's kind of easy. And I just gave you all the Tibetan here, all this Tibetan here. These are the names. Sometimes I was able to get the Sanskrit. for the different kinds of vows, the 8 different kinds. So we've got full monk, fully ordained monk. You also see it spelled like that. We have fully ordained nun. There is an intermediate nun vows. Then there are, what are we up to? That's 3. Then we've got novice monk and novice nun. So these 2, novice monk, novice nun, they have 36 vows each. Galotmas have 12. And they build on top of each other. You don't like give up vows. And then full monks have 253 vows. And full nuns have 364 vows. And there's another course in ACI that gets into different kinds of vowed morality more deeply than we get into it in this course. We also got into morality in the karma course. We actually talk about morality a lot in the foundation courses. Okay, we're up to 5 now, right? Fully ordained monk and nun, intermediate nun, novice monk, novice nun. Then we've got lifetime layperson who's male and lifetime layperson who's female. And these are normally 5 vows. Sometimes teachers will give more or fewer. Depends on your teacher. And then lastly, the 8th one is called the one-day vows. And these are, they can be in either the Hinayana tradition or in the Mahayana tradition. Both traditions have one-day vows. And it's basically you take on, it's very similar actually to the vows of a novice monk or nun, in that you don't eat after noon, you don't sit on high or expensive beds or thrones, you don't wear perfume, you don't dance and sing, things like that. So for basically, you take these vows for one day when you're doing a kind of practice, a meditation practice, where you want to be able to focus your mind. They help you keep your mind calm and focused. Okay, and some countries have other similar kinds of vows. So like of the 8, that last one is the only one that a person doesn't take for their entire life. They take it for one day. In some countries, there are traditions of taking on like nuns' vows for a month or 3 months or something. There are also like customs in when you're doing retreat, that to take on the one-day vow for the duration of your retreat. Some teachers will teach about that. Those aren't technically in the Vinaya Sutras, but they are more like customs, cultural customs, and still very beneficial, right? But they don't last for your whole life. The other 7, you take for life unless you give them back. And then there is, so that's the first kind of morality, the morality of refraining, keeping yourself from doing bad deeds. And we had the 10 non-virtues, and we had vowed morality, the vows of individual freedom. Now we're moving on to the second kind of morality. And the second kind of morality is called Gewe Chi Dukbek Sultram. And this ch has a sa at the end, an s at the end, so we can. The other one we had was ch, ended with a d. Ch. This one's ch. So, sultram, again, that's morality. Gewe ch du. That means collecting goodness, gathering together goodness. So this is the morality of collecting goodness. And this also has two different kinds. Or we could say two different, but it has a division. Let's put it that way. The first is, let me back up. The morality of collecting goodness is basically the 6 perfections. Practicing the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva. Then those 6 perfections are divided. And we'll talk about that after we go through the 6. So the first one, the first perfection is giving. And Geshe Michael said in Phoenix that he now likes to call this the perfection of sharing, so that it encompasses like sharing the Dharma. I thought that's interesting. So it's giving material things, of course, but it's also giving someone protection, giving someone teachings, giving someone a smile. It can be many different ways of doing the perfection of giving. The second one is morality, which is, of course, what we're all talking about. The third one, you see sometimes in some lineages, this is translated as patience, the perfection of patience. But it's not just being patient. It's not getting angry. So it's not just tolerating, but still being sort of agitated in your mind. And being patient, like, okay, I'll be patient as I wait in line at the store, right? No, it's not like that. It's not letting your mind be disturbed by whatever it is that's going on in your experience. Okay, that's 3. We're going to skip number 4 and go on to number 5. Number 5 is the perfection of concentration or meditation. And number 6 is the perfection of wisdom. And if you took course 6, we talked a lot about that. And then 4, which is in between 1 through 3 and 5 and 6, is joyful effort. Joyful effort. Taking delight in doing good deeds. Taking delight in benefiting others. Taking delight in cleaning the bathroom at the temple. Taking delight in doing good deeds. It doesn't mean working hard. It's here. This is Master Shantideva's definition of joyful effort. Gela trovao, enjoying doing good deeds. So these, number 4, the reason we did that last is because number 4 can go into either along with the first 3 or with the last 2 when you're dividing the 6 perfections into 2. Because it's this it's this delight in doing good. It's both a very powerful positive karma, but it's also inspiring doing the other 5, right? Taking delight in doing good inspires you to not get angry, to share what you have, to keep your vows. It inspires you to meditate. It inspires you to learn about emptiness and wisdom. So it's the one of the 6 perfections that like holds them all up, inspires you to do all 6. So in the morality of collecting goodness, we're doing these 6 perfections, these 6 bodhisattva activities, and we're collecting goodness. We're collecting the great amount of positive karma that we need to collect in order to become an enlightened being. The reason why they're divided into 2 is that the first 3, they mainly collect the karma that you need to have the physical body of a Buddha, the body of light. It can be, it's fun sometimes to just sit and think, what am I going to look like when I'm a Buddha? What will my body look like when I'm enlightened? What color am I going to be? Because you're designing your future Buddhahood. It's not like there is sure, when a Buddha comes to this planet, they look a particular way. They always do. They always have the marks and signs of a Buddha on this planet. But when you're up in your paradise, you can look any way you want. So it's fun to think about, what color am I going to be? What's my hair going to look like? What's my skin going to look like? Who's going to be around me? It's fun to think about these sorts of things. What sort of visage, what sort of appearance will be the most attractive to the people that I want to help? So those are the first 3 of the 6 perfections, plus the 4th, of course. Mainly, you're collecting goodness for the body of the Buddha. And then the last 2 perfections, and then also joyous effort again, they mainly create you're collecting goodness for the mind of the Buddha, the omniscient mind, and the Buddha's emptiness. So this kind of morality it's not like normally what we think of when we think about morality. This collection of morality is doing the kinds of things that will plant the seeds for us to see ourselves as a totally enlightened being, body and mind. So, with the exception of the second of the six perfections, all those other five, don't really think of them as morality, but they are. Because it's a great benefit to other beings when you become enlightened. They're waiting for you. And then the third kind of morality, Semchen Jinche Kitsultrum, Sultrum we had before, morality of Semchen Jinche. This is for the benefit of others. For the benefit of others. So this is the morality of working for living beings. The morality of benefiting all other living beings. Sounds very much like this was covered, right? In the first two moralities. When we restrain ourselves from doing negative actions, we're benefiting others because we're no longer stealing from them or killing them. And when we're practicing the six perfections, we're also benefiting others, right? So what's the difference? The difference in this morality is motivation. It's being very clear in our minds of why we're doing what we're doing. That we want to benefit all beings. Right now, if you're like me, we can't. We have to reach a different state of being in order to truly benefit others. And so this motivation, this intention, we keep it in our minds. So it's not really a third kind of morality. It's like this kind of morality, the morality of working for other beings, is the motivation for the first two kinds of morality. The morality of restraining ourselves from harming others, and the morality of practicing the six perfections of collecting goodness, the morality of collecting goodness. So this third one supports the first two. Okay. So now we've talked about three moralities. Now there's also a group of three that is the three types of vows. The three types of vowed morality. We already talked about the first, right? We talked about the vows of individual freedom, right? And that was one half of refraining from doing negative deeds, right? one half of restraining ourselves. We had the 10 non-virtues, keeping ourselves from those, and then we had the vows of individual freedom was the second. So that one is also one of the 3 types of vows. Okay, that should be easy. The second group of vows is called Jangsem Kidom. Say Jangsem. Jangsem. Ki. Dompa. So Jangsem is Bodhisattva. So these are the vows of a Bodhisattva. So the flavor of the individual freedom vows is we're keeping ourselves from harming others, right? We have the motivation to get out of the realm of suffering. So we don't want to plant the kinds of seeds that will ripen into experiences of pain and suffering, physical or mental. The Bodhisattva vows, as we are going to learn, are more about, excuse me, more about how to put this, like more about not being selfish, more about recognizing that we are not number one, recognizing that everyone on this planet and all others, if you can imagine them, whether they're human or animal or whatever form they take, is just like us in wanting to be happy and in wanting to be free from suffering. We're not special. We're all the same. So the morality here is about like cracking that selfishness that we have. And if we look, we can see that they call it self-cherishing in the book that Seiji translated, the Crown of Knives. This self-craving, self-cherishing, I'm so precious. But letting go of that selfishness, if there's pain somewhere that someone's feeling, like that's my pain. I want to help alleviate that pain. That pain is the problem. It's not my pain. It's not just my pain. It's any pain. I don't want any pain to exist. It's not just I'm hungry, I need to eat. It's for me, who around me is hungry? Who can I help feed? In my country, there are recently a lot of very hungry people. And so what can I do to help alleviate that hunger? So these vows are a different kind of morality. They're inspiring us to crack open our hearts, we're practicing, we're learning, we're stretching ourselves to consider others and their needs. So it's like that. It's like that flavor. And then so we've got individual freedom, bodhisattva vows, and then we have Sangaki Dompa. Say Sang ngak, kidompa. And these are the Tantra vows, or vows of the Diamond Way. And in this flavor, I can't talk about those vows. They are sangak, they are secret. um, but once you take them, of course, you immediately, the very first thing after you take initiation is you learn the vows. But here it's like with the Bodhisattva vows, we cracked open our hearts and we're stretching our heart and our mind to consider all other living beings. And with Tantra, let me just say it has the flavor of doing the most powerful things to help all those beings as quickly as possible. Like seeing the suffering of other beings becomes simply intolerable. No, cannot stand it. I can't wait 3 countless eons of doing, thinking of myself equal to others and helping others, but no, done, finished. It's got to end. Like, I can't stand it anymore. No more suffering, period. So Tantra has this sort of, it's lovely, it's beautiful, and it's fierce, and it's powerful, and it's strong. So those are the 3 kinds of vows. Each one is built on the previous one. So when you take Bodhisattva vows, you're not giving up vows of individual freedom. When you take Tantric vows, you're not giving up Bodhisattva vows, and you are certainly not giving up vows of individual freedom. The vows of individual freedom are the foundation of all Buddhist morality. What I don't know is, Geshe Michael will be giving Bodhisattva vows in Kyoto next month. And what I don't know is if he will be requiring that you take any of the vows of individual freedom. I will try and find out for you, okay? Sometimes teachers will give Bodhisattva vows if you are just doing that first part, right? If you are practicing well, keeping yourself from doing the 10 negative actions, if that's your practice. So I'll find out and let you know. So why take a vow, right? Bodhisattva vows, they say we have to take the Bodhisattva vows if we want to become enlightened. And if we want to become enlightened in this life, we must take tantric vows. Like there's no way without taking vows. So there's a difference between just doing something or not doing something, and vowing or pledging or promising to someone that you will not do something or that you will do something. There's there's a difference between just doing nice things for people because it feels good to you, or because it's the culture of your country. And doing good things for people because you want to plant the seeds to become, to reach a different state of being, to be clear of mind and heart in order to benefit all living beings, to have no no favoritism among beings. And vowing before someone, going before someone, saying, please give me these vows. This is what I want to do. I want to become enlightened. Please give me these vows so that I can collect the goodness I need to collect in order to reach that state of mind. Much more powerful action. And you can get this sort of smell of it, right? From having taken the karma course, where your motivation for doing something, the stronger and more clear and bigger that motivation is, the stronger and more powerful the seeds you're planting are. So the reading today talks about 4 kinds of, they call them advantages of taking vows. The first one is called Pero le Langpa. And this means that you take vows from someone else, someone in the lineage of from the Buddha on down to the person in front of you from whom you're taking vows. They are giving them to you, and so you have this connection with this person. You are going before them to say, whether you're taking refuge vows or bodhisattva vow or tantric vows, you're saying to this person, I want to be that. I want to live my life this way. I'm taking on this code of conduct. So the advantage here in taking them from someone is called chel yu. And this is one of the mental functions. Whether it's 51 or 46 depends on which philosophical hat you're wearing. But it's one of the mental functions. And in this reading, I just wanted to warn you. In this reading, Geshe Michael translates this word as shame. Shame. And he doesn't use that word these days, and he didn't use it in previous classes. But this is the feeling that you wouldn't want to break your vows in front of another person because you wouldn't want them to see you do it. He now calls this consideration. So you keep yourself because you don't want other people to see you the newly minted bodhisattva walking around and thinking of themselves all the time, first in line when you're on retreat in Diamond Mountain and you go for lunch, you run to be first in line. Get the food first while it's hot. I don't want to wait for everybody else. You wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want others to look at you and think, gosh, what kind of bodhisattva is that? Not only because you would be ashamed of yourself, not only because you don't want people talking badly about you, but because you don't want others having the thought about you that you're not a good bodhisattva, because that creates negative seeds in their mind. So you were inspired by this particular mental function to keep our vows well, not only for ourselves, but for others. Not only a direct benefit to them, but helping to keep them from planting negative seeds in their mind. Okay. The second of the advantages is called Sampa Dakpa. Sampa Dakpa. And this means pure motivation. And the advantage here is that, as with all things, the more pure our motivation, the more heartfelt our motivation, the more powerful the action is that we're doing. So if we take the time before we take the bodhisattva vows to be very clear about why we're doing it, to have that feeling in our hearts, I really want to help people and I can't now. I really can't. And I want to. If that is a feeling, we feel this in our hearts, in our minds, then when the teacher snaps their fingers and we receive the vows, they're more powerful. And it just makes sense from a karmic perspective. We should be doing this with everything we do, but most especially when we're taking vows. We don't want to walk in hungover like, okay, it's the last time I can go out drinking with the boys. So tomorrow morning I'm taking bodhisattva vows. No more of that. So you walk in all sort of sleepy and groggy, and gosh, you do a refuge prayer instead of a mandal offering. I was not out drinking with the boys last night. That's not why I mixed it up. I was just sleepy. Anyway, you don't come in all sleepy and just sort of like, oh yeah, bodhisattva vows. Yeah, I want to help others. Yeah, sure. Then those vows will be very wimpy. Those vows will not give really great protection. Why? Because you probably won't keep them. You haven't charged them the way they should be charged, right? You haven't charged those seeds, those vow seeds. Okay, I better hurry. Here's the third one, the third advantage. The third advantage is Nyam Nachir Soa, which means they are fixable. it's possible to recover from breaking vows. Now there is an exception, but for the most part, you can fix them. Now we're going to get into this later when we're going to go through the individual vows. We're going to talk about what it means to break a vow. There are like four circumstances that have to be present in order for a vow to be actually broken. So even if you damage a vow, you have one of the four, you can fix it. So that is one of the advantages. So when you learn about the vows, you learn about how it's possible to break them and how it's possible to restore them. And that's a great quality of the vows. Because if you're anything like me, you will damage your vows. I mean, the reason we have to take them is because we're not doing all the things necessary to create the kind of positive seeds we need in order to become enlightened. We need these vows. If we didn't need them, we'd already be enlightened. Then the fourth one is Ma Nyampar Chepa. Ma Nyampar Chepa. In the reading, so this spelling, if you're doing the Tibetan, Ma Nyampar Chepa is what is in the answer key. It's what's in the Tibetan document. It's what Geshe Michael said when he taught it. But in the reading, it says Mi Nyampar Chawa, totally different verb, Chepa and Chawa. But anyway, so either one will work. They both sort of mean the same thing, which is, get to the point, Venerable Utpala, which means you can keep them stainlessly. That is, if the first two elements are strong enough, if you have such a strong motivation in taking the vows, and if you have the kind of consideration for others where you don't want them to see you breaking vows, you can keep them purely. It is possible. Even though I just said what I said, which is we wouldn't need them. The only time we wouldn't need them is if we were already enlightened. But, it may be your time. If you've been doing this for 3 countless eons, this may be the time. You may take them and then boom, there you go. May that be the case. Okay, I think this is the last thing, almost the last thing. Almost the last thing. 2 more things. So very quickly, we can break the Bodhisattva vows into 2, and we already really talked about this last time when we talked about, we find the root vows. Remember, there were how many? 18 root vows, right? And we could find them in the Prajnaparamita Sutras. So the 2 divisions of Bodhisattva vows are Satung, which just means, well, I'll get into it. Sa means root. And Nyeje. So these are root and secondary vows. Root and secondary. But the names that they're given are the names of if you break one of those vows. If you break one of those that is a root vow, It's a satung, which means basically a downfall. It's a root downfall, like falling off a cliff kind of downfall. Like you're going to be all broken up if you break one of these. Neche means it's a bad deed. It's not like throwing yourself off a cliff. You're creating negative seeds for sure, but it's not as bad as throwing yourself off a cliff. And we are going to get into what it means to throw yourself off a cliff, which vows are really, if you break them, you're throwing yourself off a cliff. We're going to get into that. But the reason why it's important to say there are two categories of vows in the Bodhisattva vows is because apparently so over time, you know, these teachings and these vows, they've been passed down along for over 2,000 years. And things creep in over time sometimes. And one of the things that crept in was that there were many different categories of bodhisattva vows. For example, in the nuns' vows that I have, there are a lot of different categories of vows where, you know, if you break this kind of vow, then this is the result. If you break a vow in this category, this is the result. And they're all different. But in the Tantra vows, there are multiple categories as well. Not as many as the nun's vow. But the Bodhisattva vows, there's only two. And the reason that's important is because if you break a root vow not if you break it, if you damage a root vow, in other words, you don't have all the conditions present to break it completely, then it becomes like a secondary vow. The karma for the bad seeds you plant for having damaged a root vow won't be as heavy as falling off a cliff. It'll be like the secondary vows. So it's like that. So the very last thing is there was, you know, this idea that crept into this really nasty idea that excuse me, that crept into Buddhism, which was that as you take your bodhisattva vows, you no longer have to follow your individual freedom vows. And when you take your tantric vows, you no longer have to follow your individual freedom vows or your bodhisattva vows. That, you know, tantra is a whole different thing and it's got its own vows and you can forget all about the rest of it. And Jetson Kappa, you'll see it in the reading. He's very stern, and he says that that's just a crazy idea. It's an insane idea. It would be like having that idea is like excuse me, like being in a hailstorm when the hailstones are like this big and it's going to completely ruin I guess I have to stop and you can read it. Reading. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. Oh, there, I can talk again. Um, so it's like being in a big hailstorm where the hail ruins the crops, completely devastates the crops. So if you have that idea, when you take higher vows, bodhisattva vows or tantric vows, um, that you no longer have to keep your vows of individual freedom, that you're like destroying your life. You're destroying your future life. Not to mention you're harming others because you're keeping your own future enlightenment, which will happen, from coming sooner. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's quickly dedicate. I'm 1 minute over. I apologize. So we will be quick with our dedication, but let's be very clear in our dedication. Be very clear about what seeds we're planting here. What seeds are you planting here with having done this class? The the more we plant to benefit the more people, the longer the karma is going to be around and the greater power the karma will have. If we put it towards our future enlightenment, that power will never end of that seed. So let's do that. Gewadi gewokun sunam yeshe tsoksok shin sunam yeshe lejunwe tampar kunyi topar sho. Great. Have a wonderful weekend. I apologize for going over. And thank you, dear live translators. You're amazing. Thank you to ACI for,
Thank you.
for hosting this course. Thank you, Geshe Michael, for first teaching this course. Uh, thank you for being here, for being attentive. And
Thank you.
have a great weekend. I'll see you on Wednesday next week.